Maybe we are live already. I never really know. So a huge, gigantic megalo hello to Dr. Ryan Van Cleave. Wow, I'm so honored to have you on the show. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you, Mel. Glad to be here. Been looking forward to it.
It's going to be fun. I guarantee all our listeners and viewers, we are not going to cover anything. You are uncoverable in a single shot. So we'll do what we can, and if we have fun, we'll continue some other time. I have to warn the viewers and listeners, I'm in the middle of a war here. It is possible that you will hear a strange noise, see me jump and go away, in which case we'll have to reschedule, but perhaps Iran will be kind enough to let this interview proceed uninterrupted. So Ryan, you are everything. I mean, geez, you are an author of a zillion million books, probably well over 100, 120 books. How many books?
Um, Now that I'm writing IP stuff, for people, like the numbers are extremely high. Like I'm doing 2 books for Sports Illustrated right now, and I do a lot of other licensed properties, so the numbers are getting very high. Yeah.
So you are the book doctor, and I should add that you're a real doctor,
Yep.
one of the few that I've got to interview. So that's wonderful. And you are a ghostwriter.
hmm
That doesn't mean you write about ghosts. You are the director and chief editorial honcho of Bushel and Peck, one of
Yep.
my favorite publishers anywhere. Regards to David. You're a keynote speaker. You're
hmm
a poet.
Yep. That's true. My doctorate's in poetry. That's right.
Absolutely, we'll have to talk about that. And you've written on everything. You've written adults and young adults and middle grade and chapter books and picture books. I didn't see any board books.
I've done board books. I just
Ah,
not
board
with
books.
my name on it. I mean, if you take my name off of the ghostwriting, things like that, I've worked on everything. Yeah.
You're everything except the professor of microbiology.
Not yet.
Well, I am. You have to
No.
leave me something, Ryan.
Sure.
Um, and you're a Viking,
Yeah, that's in terms of my genealogy, that is true. Yeah.
and that's why you like root beer.
I heard that Vikings like root beer. That's right.
I never met one that didn't.
Right. Me neither.
Okay. There's 3 books. Before we talk about acquired your new program, exciting program for aspiring authors, I want to talk about at least 3 of your books. The first book I want to talk about is The Witness Trees, Bushel and Peck, 2023. Wow. A few words about this. Show us a little bit of it. How did it come about?
Yeah, sure. So this is the book right here, and this is actually what started my relationship with David and the press. I had been watching Bushel and Peck for a while now. A friend of mine who lives locally right here in town, Al or Mifflin Lowe, had published with them. He had published with David at Familius when David was over there, and I watched him change over to this new press, and I was just see how excited he was. And I was watching too. I'm like, I really like this. So I started just corresponding, not submitting, and David and I talked a lot. And what happened was David ended up buying about 5 of my books, including this one. And this was the first one that really came out. And he loved it. He had a vision for it immediately. And what we found is we really like a lot of the same things. We love history. We love to make history come alive. We love poetry because, I mean, that's what this is. It's a poetic, way to traverse through history. And you got these trees that are these wonderful characters and they sort of come alive. But what
Take
David
us
did
take us
is
to your favorite tree.
to me, I mean, gosh, there's absolutely so many. I guess there's multiple answers to that. One is in terms of this was not the cover. We had a different idea for the cover here, right? But when we saw this, it's like that is the cover. So in terms of visuals, this one just absolutely was a stunner and just kind of popped off the page here. This idea about the Abraham Lincoln delivering his 1863 speech there, and this honey locust tree witnessing that, right? This moment of great American history. But in terms of just like my own kind of personal thing that hasn't nothing to do with the visuals, I'm just a big fan of I like the Buddha here, right? Siddhartha right here. Just something about it. Just I like the idea of the person and just the language I think came together well. And again, I spent so much time because I have that interest in getting the poetry right, right? The poetry. That's what my doctorate is about. I just, I chewed on these words a lot. And there's just moments that I think sing to me, in ways I like a little bit better than others, but of course I like the whole thing.
I've had a lot of people on the show talking about fiction and nonfiction. This is something that really bugs me. So you class this nonfiction, fiction, somewhere in between? Where do you put it?
So it's an interesting category because I mean it's a nonfiction book. Everything is researched, everything is sourced, but it kind of, has a little bit of an imaginative quality to it as well too. So it falls kind of in that almost informational fiction kind of category, right? Where some people sort of live in that tween zone. The goal is you don't want to be telling people things and presenting it as facts that are not facts. And I think it's clear what the facts are here, and then that's the informational, the history parts, and then there's the other part that's maybe the poetic license to some degree. But I didn't make up characters. I didn't, I sort of imagine what they're thinking and
Uh,
doing. That's the part that I brought in with the imagination.
Ryan, I'm a fiction lover.
I know.
So I'm not against nonfiction. I don't think that well, anyway, we're not going to get into that today. There's so much to cover. You're also the chairman of the Department of Creative Writing at Ringling College. A couple
Yep.
of sentences about that. My goodness.
Yeah. So I started teaching there about 2007, 2008, just doing classes. I was here in Florida to work for a film company, and then they just kind of dragged me back into teaching after 20 years. I thought I was out for good. And a couple of years in, somebody says, we really could use a creative writing degree to support all the other majors, because at the heartbeat of every major there, from film to, computer animation to everything else, it's story. And no one was really teaching story at a high level. They only had 5 classes total in that. And so I built the program 10 years ago, and I've been running it ever since. And now we offer 33 courses in creative writing, and our courses are open to everyone, every major there. And we support all of them in the different ways that they communicate and tell stories to, change the world.
Okay, well, we're doing not too bad, right? But now I'm going to make life a little more difficult for you.
Please.
Tell us about you. Your biographies are full of all the stuff that you're doing. Tell us about Ryan. Tell us about baby Ryan. How come you got interested in literature? This is, PhD
Sure.
in poetry. Come on.
Okay. I can, I mean, I've been interested in stories as long as I can remember. My first story that I ever wrote I didn't realize it at the time, but it was fan fiction. It was from the Muppet Show. They had this little skit called Pigs in Space, and
Always pigs in space.
that's it. And I did a Pigs in Space episode about them going to Mars and finding Martians. And so I wrote that was like 5 or something. I still have it. It's, terrible handwriting. And so I've kind of been writing the whole time. I got into role-playing games, like things like Dungeons and Dragons a lot in high school. And so I wrote essentially fan fiction or versions of adventures there too. And I was reading all that kind of genre literature there too, fantasy, science fiction, horror, Stephen King, things like that. So I've been writing pretty much forever. But I
Is
mean,
the writing an escape from something in your childhood? Is there angst? What age are you stuck at as an author? Excuse me, but I have to know these things.
sure. No, it's a good question. And no one asked these questions. This is why I'm doing your show and not other ones, because literally no one's ever asked me this in an interview before. And I've done a lot of interviews before. Probably a very, very young age, I think, ultimately. I don't have an exact one. I mean, my wife likes to say I'm about 7 years old. So, like, maybe that's kind of the right age there, too. But it's a maturity thing more than anything else. But I can tell.
I'm a 5-year-old. I mean, I'm looking up to you.
Oh, yeah, you're just a baby then. I'm much older than you. I can give you the answer, though, the answer you're actually looking for. So, I'm adopted. And I think once I realized that when I was a kid, I've been kind of looking for stories in this sense of understanding identity and people's place in the world ever since
Wow.
that point. And I think stories are a way to explore the lives of oneself and other people and the connections between those things. And I think every story I do, to some degree, does that, whether people see it or not. I see it, and it informs my experience, my lived experience.
Wow, that's very, very strong. So finding out you were a Viking was because you wanted to know who you were.
Yeah, much later. That was something I did. It was mostly my wife wanted to know about my genetics because I didn't have any information. I get tired of going to the doctor and they're like, "Do you have heart disease in your family?" I mean, I don't know. So she would like to know. So I did all the DNA testings and things like this, and that just came up that in the various ones I did, they all pointed to Scandinavia, and I was already interested in Viking culture in the way that everyone who likes genre literature likes Vikings, and so it's a cool fun fact, and it happens to be true. So it's on my email signature line.
Even Jews like Vikings.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we did 1,000 years ago, but today
Right. Right.
we need more Vikings here, Ryan.
I'm doing my
So,
best.
so when did you decide that literature was you?
It's a great question. So I had a different life before. I've got very long hair here, and the first time that I had long hair was in high school. I was a musician. I was playing guitar and playing in bands and playing all over the place, and that was my first real creative life. And I went to college to be a classical guitar
Oh, I know.
performer.
Rock, classic, jazz, what?
Classical guitar performance major in college, but in the service of playing rock and roll, 80s hard rock and metal and things like that. And then my first year there, I hit the wall. It just became work overnight, and I stopped playing it. I didn't play again for about 15 years. And then I switched and I got a degree in philosophy. And then I realized at some point that there are no jobs for philosophy. So I switched over and got a degree in English. And then I stuck through with English because no one ever told me to stop. So I got a master's degree, I got a
And
PhD.
nobody told you that there's no jobs in English either.
There are more than for philosophers, I do think. So I kind of stuck it out there, and I started writing very early there too. I was publishing articles as an undergraduate, and I sold a story to Marion Zimmer Bradley for her fantasy magazine. I got $200. I was so excited. This is like 1993. Like that's a lot of money. I felt like I actually did the math. I'm like, I could be a full-time writer if I sold one story a week like this, of course, which you can't do. But I'm thinking this. I'm like, I can do this, and so I had a lot of success in very small ways early that kind of kept me going. And then, like so many people, I fell into being a professor because of my doctorate. And so I've been doing that for 25
Listen,
years.
I very rarely interview. The New Books Network is actually an academic network.
Yeah,
They took me on not because I know anything about children's books, but because I am a PhD, and I didn't tell them what it was in.
sure. Okay.
But you're the real thing. You should when I retire in 2 weeks, you should take my job. It's not a paying job, but I mean you're the real thing, not me. What is your PhD in?
It's in English, but with an emphasis in
No, I know that in poetry, but what's the thesis?
oh well, okay. So mine is it's a creative dissertation. So it's a poetry book. So we're able to do that in certain kinds of degrees. So I got to avoid a lot of the heavy duty academic writing that I didn't want to do, though I wrote a lot of those papers in those classes, though. I just didn't have to write a whole book length dissertation on it.
So you were like T.S. Eliot, and you got a PhD at the end.
Yeah, that's right.
Amazing.
I
Who's
agree.
your favorite? Who's your favorite poet?
It's a
Don't
good.
tell me Emily Dickinson.
Yeah. No, it's actually I usually say Wallace Stevens. That's often the case. If you want someone more contemporary, as an undergraduate, I was a huge fan of Yusef Kobyunaka, and I feel very special my relationship with him because he came and read at my college, Northern Illinois University in DeKalb, at this very small little bookstore, and there was like 9 people there. And I'm like, he's really good. And then a few weeks later, he won the Pulitzer Prize. And I'm like, I figured that out. I knew that before everybody. So like, I feel a special connection with him because I recognize how good he was before I think the world did. So there's my
So, so,
contemporary
so
love.
you did your PhD something very commercial called poetry.
Yeah, that's right.
And how do you get hired after that? Who would hire
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. I had so many options. I taught at a bunch of places. I taught at Florida State. I taught at University of Wisconsin Madison. I did a postdoc there. I taught at University of Wisconsin Green Bay. I taught for a while at Clemson University. I was I was the Anastasia C. Hoffman Writing Fellow in Washington D.C. at George Washington University. I taught at Eckerd down in St. Pete, and then here at Ringling College. I've been at like 6 or 7 schools over the years.
And then you joined the David Miles and Bushel and Peck and the Hug Around the Neck a
Yeah.
few years ago, and
Yeah.
you're the editorial honcho, and I can understand why. Um, let's now segue to your new program, which
Mhm.
is maybe not the first time a publisher has done something like this, but there's a lot of originality in Acquired. Tell us about Acquired, how you thought up the idea, and what's happening with that.
Yeah, I think that Bushel and Peck suffers from the same challenges that my college does. It's an awareness, it's a brand awareness issue. A lot of people don't know that Ringling College of Art and Design exists or they think it's a clown school. So like just letting people even know about it is a big challenge that I face all the time. And Bushel and Peck is this small little kidlit press out of Fresno. Like how do we get people to know? And if you know David, you know he's a giver. He's a teacher at heart, he's a giver, and he wants to share and like raise people up. Anytime we hire an intern or one of my editorial assistants, he's always looking for people that we can
Ryan,
put into a trajectory for
he's
success.
been on the show,
Yeah,
and you suffered from it.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Yes, I read hundreds of submissions from people because they all wrote because they want to work with him. Um, yeah, I mean he's kind of amazing. I don't know. So I guess really the thing that to answer your question specifically about, how do we get to acquired, it's that I've always looking for opportunities to support and raise brand awareness for the press and engage with community and also develop new writers in the next generation of editors, agents, and creatives. And so I just said, I know some friends who are mystery writers. And so they put together a basically floating workshop on a cruise ship, and people go to the cruise ship. And then while they're there, they do a thing. And it works for everybody. I'm like, that sounds fun. So I told David that we should do that. And then he said, okay. And I don't know if he's scared of boats or something, but he says, why don't we do it on land? And we looked into doing it in California, where he and a lot of the other people are. I'm in Sarasota, Florida. I'm on the other side. He's on the west side. And then it's like, you know what? A lot of people would be okay with something online if it was high quality, because a lot of people got burned out on like medium quality and low quality, Zoom things. But if it's high quality, people are going to do it. So we decided to we put it together very quickly, and we ran it in, I guess it was May or so, and it was out the door popular. We had a waiting list. And so we ran it. It went very well. And now we're going to run another one in July and another one in August. And then what we're going to do after that is I think we're going to do some alternative versions of this. Because right now we're focusing primarily on picture books, fiction and nonfiction, kind of that area. But I think we'll do one that's maybe on like early chapter books or something like that, or maybe a middle grade one, or maybe nonfiction only, and kind of, so people who want to repeat customers but dive a little more deeply into one specific area could come back and then work with us, because the goal is it's that value proposition, which is David's idea. He's such a great branding person. Acquired. That's the differentiator. If you just want to learn how to write better, you can go to the writing barn, you can go to highlights, you can take an SCBWI, you can take something online at Gotham Writers or various other institutions that have a continuing ed program, and you can work one-on-one with people like me. I do it all the time as a coach, one-offs. But the promise here is not just build up your muscles to be able to write a sentence better. It's understanding absolutely the larger package and the context into which you're trying to create and publish and become acquired. Because there are so many people who do almost everything right, but they're missing something and they don't know what. And that's what we're trying to do, is give them that sense about what it is. Sometimes it's a craft thing. Sometimes it's an industry perspective. And sometimes it's, some combination of things. And so we talk about everything over multiple days, and we work one-on-one with everybody, and it's transparent. So it's not like we go off on our side and talk and whisper to the person. Everyone can listen to everyone else's conversation, and you can learn from what other people are struggling with and succeeding with and what we like and don't like. And it's not about what David and I like about your manuscript. It's what we think the industry will like about it, because we can't publish all the books, but we want you to be able to write books of the level that they will be highly desirable from any press anywhere. And that's the
Okay,
goal. We want them all to be acquired.
this is an important distinction,
Mm-hmm.
because one of the things about Acquired is you say, okay, we are going to, first of all, you curate the 20 participants.
Yeah.
Okay, so you take people that have submitted to you. How do people reading, watching, listening to the show contact you or David for information on Acquired? Can we put
That's a
we
great
put a
question.
link underneath?
Yeah, I mean, if you just go to our website, Bushel and Peck Books, there are links right on it. There's multiple ways to get to it there. I'm sure you can find it that way as well. So
Is it something that an aspiring writer can apply to, or it's just you are reaching out to people who have submitted to you already, etc.?
it is open to everyone who wants to take it seriously. That's it. We're not going to vet people and say, Mel, you're not ready, or whatever that means. Like, I'm not going to say that. If you want to pay the money and you want to commit to it, we're going to give you the best good faith opportunity we can to help elevate your work to get acquired with us or with someone
Yeah,
else.
but
That's what we're going to
but
do.
you're guaranteeing that one person out of that 20 is going to get a book deal with Bushel and Peck.
100%. We know that what we're doing and the people we're working with, we will have at least one that we can't say no to. So we're going to say yes to at least one. And David's done things like this before at WIFR, which is a different kind of conference. He kind of piloted this on his own. And we bought two from that pool of people there. I'm working with them right now. One's on libraries and one's on, space related stuff. So I'm helping develop these manuscripts. We also partnered with Fred Kaler, who does Ready Chapter One. He's out in near Orlando here, so I know him really well. He's a fabulous author illustrator. He's helping people get published as well too. But we partnered with them, and we're publishing one of their middle grade, book winners. So we're working with people and elevating and bringing them up. But we want to have our own funnel and our own pool, and we want to really do a focused dive on kid literature, especially the picture book area, where
Okay.
everybody thinks it's doable. It's so small, I can do this, and I want to do this, and it's so hard, but you can do such a better job and be more likely to succeed if you have the right information and you have the right understandings and you know the types of places that people fall short and you know the things you can do to overcome the challenges built into the process and the industry.
Okay. So here's the thing. On the one hand, you are grooming people
Yep,
to be publishable authors.
that's right.
Okay. But I know you and I know David, and you guys have the stuff, and we all do have the stuff that you're interested in.
Mhm.
How do you distinguish between the stuff you're interested in at Bushel and Peck and the stuff that somebody at another publisher might be interested
That's a good question. I have my own particular interests, and thankfully David shares lots of those. So the Venn diagram of what we're looking for between the two of us, and we make basically all the decisions on acquisitions, it's pretty similar. The challenge we have is that we're a small press and we have a small list. So we turn down things all the time that we would otherwise buy. And if it's things that we would otherwise buy and just can't for whatever reason, we know other people probably will want it too because it's hitting enough of the
in?
things that a publisher wants to make that commitment to it. And I also talk a lot with I run a blog. I run Only Picture Books, which is it's been going since April of 2018, and I interview editors and agents, even book publicists, as well as authors, and it's everybody. Um, I know everybody in the business, and I hear and we talk insider shop all the time. I'm going to ALA, the book conference next week. I'm gonna hobnob. I got lunch dates with people. I hear all the time. I know what people want. I know what they're looking for and what they're not looking for. And so when David and I meet with these people at our workshop in July or in August or down the road, we share that information. It's not like, what does David want and what does Ryan want? It's like, this is what the industry is like. We talk about trends, certain things. Like right now, middle grade's a bear. Like I got friends publishing, having the darndest time trying to sell it. It's like the book's bought and it's out, but no one's buying it. Like it's marketing and branding. There's some challenges. So middle grade is kind of lower now, and there's other things that are higher. And if you know what those are, you might have a better shot trying to submit those things now than a middle grade, right? There's just kind of industry awareness. There's issues of formatting. Some people, I got a manuscript the other day, and it's good, but it's like they've never seen how to format a manuscript before, and it's so annoying to me that like I'm just so turned off by it. And like those things actually matter. It's not the only thing, but there's a lot of things like that too. And we're just having a very open and frank discussion during these events where we talk about all this. We have open Q&A where they can ask us anything. That's what we have, multiple sessions. Ask us anything. And then David's got the design and the layout side, so he can talk about that. He also understands marketing and branding. He's got a business degree, so he understands it in a way that very few publishers and art directors actually get it. And then I talk about it from the writing side and my own experiences. And so together, I think we have a pretty comprehensive understanding of the entire industry, and we can answer almost any question and help point people in the right direction so they have a much, much, much higher chance of actually getting acquired with us or with another traditional press, which is what we want them all to do at some point, and then ideally know how they did it so they can repeat it and make a career if they want.
Okay, so let's talk about the spectrum. The spectrum
Sure.
of picture books is the one you have the educational, the work for hire, where you come in and you have a book where the editors know exactly what they want,
Yep.
and your job is to write it properly. At the other end of the spectrum, you have the wacky books that win the Caldecots,
Yeah.
the wild and I want my hat back books that no editor in their right mind would say, oh, I want a book about a bear looking for his hat. And by the way, he probably eats the rabbit at the end.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean,
this is what this, I mean, you've written a book on creativity. I find as an author, and maybe it's just me, and as a scientist, if you told me, Mel, I want you to do this and this experiment, it's not really very creative.
mhm.
If I say, Mel, surprise me, I will either surprise you or blow up the laboratory. I've done both, by the way.
I believe you. So, I mean,
So I mean, I'm just going to go off on this for a second because
yeah, please.
it's really, for me, it's the key issue that I really want to talk to you about. If agents will say, surprise me. Do they really mean surprise me? Editors will say surprise me. Do they really mean surprise me? To go off on a Michigan book, right? Where you're letting a pigeon drive a bus. If you're not Mo Willems, you're going to say, well, what chance that doesn't fit into any category. It doesn't fit into my vehicle category or my Arctic birds category. Run with me on this.
So it's funny because I just wrote about this today in my blog. I posted it moments ago, and I actually talked about the pigeon book there as well too. I was talking about decoding what editors say when they reject you. Like, this is too quiet. It's not right for our list. Like, what do they actually really mean? And to answer your question more specifically, though, what editors don't want is they don't want familiar things done in familiar ways, because then it feels like a retread, a Xerox of something really good, and there's great diminishing returns each time you do that. Oh, that's just another pigeon book, but not done as well, et cetera, et cetera. So when they say surprise me, they're looking for something that becomes a selling point for it, right? Like, this is metafiction, or this uses this other kind of thing, or has interactivity, or just something that feels, it's the approach oftentimes is actually where people fall short with a book. And I mean fiction as well as nonfiction. It's obvious that nonfiction is an issue because I talk about this all the time with people who want to write nonfiction picture book biographies. How do they do it? Well, they start when the person was born and they end when they died. Chronology, like, makes the most sense. It's such an obvious and kind of boring way to do it. So can you pair it up, right? Can you have two stories running in parallel? Or like that book, My Papa is a Poet, that's about Robert Frost from the perspective of one of their kids. Like, it's just so fresh and exciting. Or the Me Jane book, right? But Jane not as like the person in Africa with all the the monkeys and the chimpanzees and the gorillas, but it's like her as a child with a little like, it's just so fresh and so smart. So surprise me, that's often what it is. It's the approach, not the topic. So like, that's just one example of where I think people get lost in the weeds on this too, where they did everything right and it just didn't work, right? Approach is oftentimes the secret.
It's like anything creative, isn't it? It's like inventing something. I teach my students similar but different.
Yeah.
It's the same in music. If you invent a scale with 500 notes, it's going to be very original, but people aren't going to listen to it.
Right. It's a good
So,
point.
so now we are toward the end of this exciting interview because I want to have another interview. I want to sit and cogitate about all the stuff that you said. And in a previous iteration with David, who either likes me or hates me, following his popularity on the previous show, and you will probably do the same after this one. He said, "Well, why don't we offer the listeners a free entry to your acquired?" I mean, it costs almost $600.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what we're trying to do, is help people out, and we want to help you out, and we want to kind of make a difference here. And so if that's the sort of opportunity that you think would be attractive, we should do such a thing.
Okay, so what I'm going to suggest here is, because you and I are not going to go over 500 manuscripts
No, we're not.
again. So I'm going to have a question. I'm going to throw out a question to our reader viewership. I've done almost 200 interviews. What was the longest one time-wise? So the first person to write in below the Facebook Live, citing the longest interview I've had up until now, may win because this is dependent on the generosity of spirit of David Miles, may win a free entry to this fantastic acquired conference. And if I can figure out how I'm going to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to beg you also. But that's another thing. So finally, let's get to the creativity question. This is like the $64,000 question. The brilliant idea of writing about Robert Frost from the point of view of his child, or Abraham Lincoln by the cherry tree he just chopped down. I'm not sure that's such a great idea. Where does this come from, in your opinion? You've written a whole book about it.
Well, I have, yeah, this book here from Oxford University Press on creativity. But I taught that at my school as well too, and I've been thinking about efficiency and effectiveness and what works and doesn't work in myself and the lives of others, particularly creatives. And one of the things that I teach when I work as a writing coach, or I do one-off things a lot and occasionally coach people, but in the classroom, because I teach picture book writing and things as well too. It's what I variously call the rule of 12, the rule of 15, the rule of 20. And it's that you have to understand every single thing you do in your book is a creative choice where you're making one choice as opposed to all the other options. Everything is. And a lot of people don't bother to think of a choice beyond the first. And what you have is when you just take top of head, the stuff that's just easiest and comes like immediately, it's because you've heard it a million times and you've seen it a million times. And it makes sense because that's what it is, because this is that, and that's what I've seen, and then that's what you put. And if you never really challenge that, you've got something that feels familiar, it feels done, et cetera, et cetera. But if you challenge yourself and say, I need 12 other choices, and maybe they're all garbage, not a problem. Now you know from information that this is better than 12 other choices, and you feel much better about it. But as often as not, one of those others is a better choice. So there's a lot of good ways to do something, but there's only one best
Ryan,
way.
hold on. Once in a while, I get a brilliant idea in my interview, and this is ours for today. So for those people who are not skilled in the art of picture book writing, generally you have 13 page turns, 12 page turns in the story, and each page turn is a spread or double spread, and we teach our authors to move between the page turns, to progress in the story arc, and to have enough momentum and excitement and mystery to get people to make these page turns. But I've never heard what you're suggesting, which is that every page turn is an opportunity for a creative choice.
It's not even just every page turn. It's every word, every phrase, every idea, every image, every perspective. It's like literally every single thing in it at some point should be interrogated and challenged. And sometimes it holds up, but a lot of times it does not. And there's too many people who have a lot of things that are good, but they haven't found the best, in these various things. And so it just feels not quite good enough. And that's what I get a lot of. I get a lot of competent manuscripts. Competent. Like, who's getting excited about competent manuscripts? I want something that surprises me, that feels like, oh, that's just exactly right. Like the end of Where the Wild Things Are. It could end the page before and it was still hot. At the end, it's just one extra. It just feels better than good. You know what I mean? And that's what we're always looking for. We always want something that makes you feel and react, intellectually, emotionally, in these kinds of ways. And you have to really work to get it. It's so hard. These are poems. They're all poems because you don't have the space. You don't have the real estate of a novel. So they've got to do double and triple work, every single aspect of these kinds of things. And even when you write big books like this, you still need to put that same kind of in. And you can tell when people do. It's hard work. But when you do it right, people respond. So that's one of my little secrets. I have many more, but that's a good one there. The rule of 20 or the rule of 17 or whatever I say at the time when I'm thinking about it. But the idea is exactly the same. Really dig into the creative process, challenge yourself, find the best. Good enough is rarely good enough.
Fantastic. So this is a good opportunity now to start to sign off. When is our next acquiring seminar?
The next, we have two more this summer before school really starts for everybody again. So we've got one in July, July 17, 18, 19, and we have one August 21, 22, 23.
And
So
these are both on picture books.
yeah, they're focusing on picture books, primarily fiction or nonfiction, illustrated nonfiction, kind of like this thing where you've got that, informational fiction thing. And either one of those is kind of welcome and has an equal chance of kind of being acquired by us
And
here.
one of them is going to be acquired in each session.
One
And
or more. One or more.
I'm assuming that the $600 covers your costs. It's not going to make any of you rich.
Nope. Nope. Not at all. Not at all. We need people to make a commitment to us and come in there with the right good faith attitude and just want to absorb as much as they can. And we will help them create ideas. We will
Mhm.
help them then shape those ideas to good ideas, and then we'll help them shape those into actually marketable ideas that then they'll actually work on and produce some work on, and then that's what we'll be looking at. So you don't have to come in with your manuscripts ready to go and things like this. We're going to kind of start from ground zero with everybody and then work our way through it over our multi-day process. And you're not going to write the whole thing generally. Some people might, but it's mostly just get enough of it going, but built on, it's got to be that foundational premise has to be marketable. If otherwise it's a house built on sand. It's just never gonna, it doesn't matter how good it is, it's never gonna hold up. That's the issue. So we're trying to start from the beginning and really get them going the right way and then knowing what to do going forward. So that's the goal. And I'll add one other thing too. I read everything. I am the funnel at Bushel and Peck. So if you do one of our acquired workshops, you can always just submit to me, even though it says you have to be agented or whatever. It also says if you know us and get invited from workshops and events and things like this. So if I do an SCBWI, I often tell people you can submit to me and they can. But acquired, if you do this one of these workshops, one or more with us, I will always know who you are and I will always give you a personal and thoughtful response, perhaps more than someone who I do not know. We're in the relationship business here and you're building a relationship with us. We may never publish you, but we might help you get published in the ways that you want in
So,
other
so
places.
Ryan, for the people who are participating,
Yeah.
there's no commitment on their part to sell you a manuscript.
No,
Mhm.
not
So
at all.
essentially, you are paying a not a little bit of money for a Zoom conference,
Mhm.
even quite a bit of money for a Zoom conference, but there are huge tangible benefits here potentially. And my last question,
Yep.
okay, I when I started to take my children's writing seriously, and you know that I work with Harold Underdown, who I think is like one of the best in the business. I understood that he gave a talk at your first acquired.
Yeah, David and I are kind of the through line. We're there for everything. We sometimes bring in a special guest. And for the first one, we brought in Harold. He came in and talked sort of a global high order industry.
So when I started working with Harold, I didn't say to him, Harold, I want to be published.
Hmm.
I said, Harold, I want to write better.
Hmm.
I want you to address this because I've been saying for years that you're going to correct me. I know, Ryan. I'm going to say something outlandish. I'm going to say that for most of the people in the trenches, um, getting published is a huge crapshoot.
Hmm.
Publisher can ask for a for biography on this or a picture book on the history of pansies, and you can write the best book on pansies because I'm looking out the window and seeing pansies, and it still won't be accepted. And I've always said to authors, you'll really never know what's in Ryan Van Cleave's mind or David Miles' mind. Instead of that, forget about what the market needs, what the market wants. Write a really good story. I mean, there's an F word I want to use here. Write a really good effing story.
Yeah.
And you're saying the opposite? Look at the market first?
No, I'm not saying look at the market first. What I'm saying is let's start with your passion and your interest. And then let's figure out how to shape those ideas into something that then will work in the marketplace. That's the issue. If you never, a lot of people think they're thinking about audience and they're not, or they're thinking about the wrong audience. It's great to be thinking about a kid curled up and reading this book, but it actually has to win over an editor. And in my case, it'd be, agent, then an editor, then an editorial board, and then ultimately the booksellers, and then ultimately a parent or librarian or teacher who actually buys the book and then sits down with the kids. So all these other kinds of people before you think about that child reader.
Well,
And a lot of people never think about any of that. And some of them don't even think about the child, and they're just writing about the things that they want in a picture book format. Like, it's very strange. And so we're reminding them of the process so that you have a higher than normal chance of succeeding at all those steps by taking a good idea, working with it, then making it marketable. So we're not saying start with market. You can do that and it works, but it's better if you're writing from your passion and your interest and your experiences, and then say, now, how can I communicate this in such a way that it works for all of those different potential readers? Ultimately, it's for the kid, but it's got to work the whole way through. That's the thing we really talk a lot about there is shaping and tailoring. It's what I said before about approach, finding an approach that's marketable and really communicates the best things in the right kinds of ways to sell the idea you're excited about, whether it's jugglers or penguins or whatever.
have you ever had an instance where you were sure a book was going to be great, and perhaps because of the, you know, a manuscript for picture book is just a scaffold for the illustrator. And you guys go out on a limb, you purchase a scaffold.
Yep.
You don't have the building yet. Have you been surprised in both directions?
We're surprised an awful lot. This happens again. Our experiences at our press are probably different than other presses. We're small. I like to think I'm a creative person, and I know David's incredibly creative, and so we take risks and do things that other presses probably don't. A lot of them have a more unified and consistent process in everything, and they kind of put things through the machine, and it works and it does well. We really try to explore. It's the rule of 20. We kind of try to do things differently, and we really explore our options. And sometimes, things go sideways or interesting. We have a lot of happy accidents, though. We really do. And I think that's just being open to surprises, open to possibilities, and always kind of watching and thinking and interrogating the process. And I think that that's been a benefit for us. And I think when you look at our books, I can say they're beautiful because David made them beautiful. It's not even like bragging about my own stuff. He makes them beautiful. He designs them well, and he either produces the art or gets the art and then puts it all together. So our books stand out. They're like a boutique experience. And
Let
my
me
job
say
is,
that. Let me say that for you because you work there.
please.
Bushel and Peck are wonderful, wonderful books. And I'm saying that as somebody who sent you hundreds of manuscripts and never got one in. But listen, we've been very fortunate. Um, Iran has not bombed us the past 45 minutes, and I don't want to what's the word? There's a word here. Something to goose.
Yeah, right, right, right. You want to get out while the getting's good.
Yeah. So, Dr. Ryan Van Cleave, my goodness, a author, editor, ghostwriter, picture book guru, editor-in-chief of Bushel Peck. I know that's not your name. You are the editorial director and strategic aliens person. And what can I say except thank you? This has been a wonderful interview, and for all you do, we didn't talk about the giving the books. Every book you publish, you give one away. I think that in many respects, you guys are a beacon for the kidlit community. And
That's a nice thing to say. I like to think so too. And it comes from David. It's David's idea. It's his baby. He learned with Familius and other things and he brought it together. And then this is what he wanted to do. And he wanted to do it in the right kind of way. And it's why I like to work there because this is the first job I've ever had where I want to be around all these people all the time. There's not the, you know what I mean? There's none of the office politics. They raise people up internally and externally. It's a fabulous organization. I'm just lucky to be a part of it.
and they're lucky to have you. So, Ryan, this has been fantastic. We're going to go out and come back for a second,
Okay.
just to say goodbye. And everybody else, I'm going to be checking my the Facebook to see whether anybody has figured out the longest interview that I've had up until now. You may win a free entry to Acquired, the conference held by Bushel and Peck, which will make you a better author.
Awesome.
Ryan, thanks. Bye bye, everybody else.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, I forgot to say who I am. Oh, very quickly. I'm Mel Rosenberg. I was having so much fun with you. What am I? I'm the host of the Children's Literature Channel of the New Books Network, and I've been with Ryan Van Cleave, the most wonderful Viking I've ever met. Bye-bye.